Hello, everybody. One more time. Today we are here to talk about public speaking. We'll talk first about the different ways to communicate with the words, with the body, etc. And after we will talk about, usually we are a bit stressed when we speak in public, right? So how to prevent that, how to feel more comfortable when speaking public. And then we are going to talk about some tips that you can apply when speaking public. So let's start from the beginning. The elements of communication. I suppose you have heard about this. If not, it's okay. Because when we talk, we usually communicate with words. But you have keep in mind that actually what we say, it is the little part that we communicate. We communicate more with the paralanguage and with the body language that we'll see in a moment. Well, these percentages are 7%. I mean, it's not so specific, but there have been studies talking about this. But according to what I know, this study was more about the face. So the body, when they say body language, is more about the face. Anyway, I mean, this study, the percentage, it was made with only the face, but we'll talk about not only the face, the body language with the whole body. So this is the verbal, it's just the words that we say. And then this is the paralanguage. What is the paralanguage? Is how we say the things. The speed, if we speak very quickly or we speak slower. It is also the pauses. When you, for example, when you want to say, the pauses are very important in your message. Okay, so you leave, for example, some time for people to think about that, and you always want, for example, when you want to focus on something specific, then you leave a pause, so people are, like, what is this, The tone, we speak more like this or more like this. Okay, and the volume, of course, the emphasis, the clarity when we talk. If we are like, for example, you say, that. The fluidity is, this is some parasites that that more or less all of us sometimes we fall into this, but it is better to avoid these parasites and, well, the fluidity, etc. So this is the paralanguage. And then we have the body language that it is, in theory, according to the studies, the most of the how we communicate the most is with our body language. If you say that you are very calm, but at the same time you are, like touching your face and doing, a lot of gestures, people will know that you are nervous. So we communicate more with physically with the body language than even with the verbal, as I said. And the facial expression is very important, of course. The look, if you look at the eyes of the people, you are communicating. For example, if you are talking with somebody and you are looking at the other side, that person will feel that you are not having too much interest in the conversation or what that person is saying, etc. The posture, well, we are sit down, everybody, so it's not that much important, but usually when you stand up in a stage, it's very important, the posture. The personal appearance, the style of dress, hairstyle, grooming, etc. The contact, physical contact, that in person is when you shake the hands. If you shake the hands with somebody and it's too loose, it doesn't give you too much good feeling, right? Or maybe if it is too strong, it's too much, right? So something in the middle, like firm. And then spatial proximity, that in some cultures is closer than in others. For example, for the Spanish culture, it is okay to be closer to a person when you talk with that person. But in the British culture, it's better to be a little more separated and not use too much touching the people. You have confidence is fine, but usually you don't have confidence with that person, it's better not to touch, to pass this space of the person, this personal space. you must be more careful about that in some cultures than in others. So this is the elements of communication that we all must have into account, not only with the speaking in public, but also in general in our, when we speak with people in all our circumstances in our lives. Okay, let's move on. So as everything, when you learn something new, because many people are scared when speaking in public, because it is not something natural. We don't get born and we just speak in public, no? So as everything in life, at the beginning, if we don't know something, we haven't had, as the first time we try, we feel not comfortable. We even can feel fear or anger before trying it. And well, the first step, it is called unconscious incompetence. So it's, I don't know that I don't know. For example, when you, about driving a car, when you are a child, you don't know how to drive a car, but you don't really care. So that is unconscious incompetence. But there will be a moment that you will feel like, okay, I need to drive a car for some reasons, to move around, because to socialize, no? If you drive a car, etc. Well, some reasons, and then you will be conscious and competent. So I know that I don't know. So in public speaking, this is very similar, of course. At the beginning, we don't speak in public usually, and for the majority of us, it's daunting to speak in public at the beginning. It's like, no, I don't want to do it, or you feel fear or even anger in somebody pushes you to do it, resistance, right? But this is normal. It's just to learn some tips like we'll do today, and especially to practice. And then once you start practicing, your acceptance that you will do it, you are open to that, and you start practicing. If you keep doing, there is a time that you start feeling comfortable doing that. You even like it. Well, I might say, for example, in my case, I remember when I was much younger, I was in the school, and I was very shy. So if the teacher has a question and what is the answer, no? And he or she told me, pointing at me, like I felt so shy, and even because I am quite, my skin is quite white, so they could see the red color coming to my face. And once I heard one of my classmates saying, "Oh, look, the ears!" Even the ears were so red. So I was conscious about this. It was a conscious incompetence. And then I went to a course about emotional intelligence. That is when I started learning about all these personal development things. That is one of, if not the first course about personal development, and it was very interesting. And I remember I said that, no, I have this little issue that I get red when I need to speak in public. But I also attended some public speaking courses, etc. And I remember the first course I attended, when I had to speak in public with all the students that were there, that maybe there were 15 people or something like that. I was not even looking at the people. I was just looking at the roof when I was speaking. But with the time, I attended more courses and practice. And then in Liverpool, I started doing also these courses in person. So it's just something that you start getting confidence. And there is a moment that you start liking it and you even enjoy it. So that is the unconscious competence. There is a time that you don't even notice that you are doing it. For example, when you are driving a car and you already have practiced a lot, you take the car and go to your home, and you arrive home and you don't even remember if you were switching, changing the gear. You don't even remember that. You just went home, and so that is unconscious competence. I know that I am good. I don't think about it anymore. And that is even when you can even teach it, like I'm doing now. I'm teaching public speaking. All right. So this is also about mindset. You think, depending on how you go out on the stage, if you are thinking that you are not so confident about yourself, and you are thinking that things might go wrong, and then that leads you to feeling nervous with no self-confidence, and then that makes you act in a nervous way, and you notice that people are watching at you in some weird way, and then you start thinking more about that, and they're feeling more nervous, etc. So if you have the mindset that you think that you can do it, that you are confident, then you will feel better, and then you will act better. And there is a tip for this, a clue. And well, there are three clues. One is practice. So just practice. What is the second one? Practice. And what is the third one? Practice. All right. So it's just practice, practice, practice. If you have a presentation and you practice a lot, you will feel much more confident. So the preparation is key when you do public speaking. Unless you have done, for example, I have done this presentation before or similar. Well, I did in person, and well, you know, for me, it's doing it another time, and it's not a big problem. Well, so this is about thoughts. We have seen this before in the emotional intelligence and probably in other moments. So it's about managing your thoughts, especially the negative ones. When you are thinking, oh, it's the first time I do it, I am nervous, I cannot do it, people are watching, they will like me, they will believe me, etc. And then all this internal thinking that is not beneficial for you. So there are some ways to cut them off, like changing for another different thought. Cut it off instantly, change it for a totally different thought. You don't even have to defend that thought. It's like, oh, they will like me. You don't even think about that. You think about other thing. And actually there is the fourth one, that is counteract the negative with the exact opposite. So instead of, are they going to like me? You say, think to yourself, they are going to like me. I'm going to do great, and they are going to love my presentation. So you just think the opposite, right? Another way is to label that thought. And you think, I'm having this negative thought, and my negative thought, it says that I'm not going to do too well. You know, you are labeling just by looking at that thought from a different perspective. By label that thought, you are looking from a different perspective, looking from outside, and that thought is losing power over you. And also, this another technique is exaggeration into the ridiculous. So you're thinking, oh no, I'm going to do mistakes, and people are going to see them, are going to laugh at them, and they are going to throw tomatoes at me, and my life will be ruined forever. Okay, this is into the ridiculous. So also in that way, you are making that thought lose power over you because it becomes funny. So there are some ways you can control your negative thoughts, and especially it's good to have positive thoughts. One type of positive thoughts that is very efficient is the affirmations. For example, I can do it. If you are going to do the presentation, and just before the presentation, you go to the bathroom and you look in the mirror and say, I can do it, I can do it. I love myself. I am the best. Then the probability that you are with this positive mindset are higher. Okay, so also another interesting tip is to move your body, to jump, to do some crazy movements, because that moves the attention out of your thoughts and into your body, and that raises tension and helps you to be more relaxed and more confident. It is also good before the presentation, and this is not so much about thoughts, but it's also a good tip, to move your mouth, to warm up your mouth. You can do movements like this, with the tongue. So when you talk, once you warm up, the clarity of your words will be better. If you warm up with your mouth, the tongue, open your mouth maximum, like this. It looks a bit ridiculous, but yeah, you can do it in private first, and then that will help you for the clarity of your speech. Okay, let's move into the presentation itself. First of all, very important, of course, is the topic, what I'm going to talk about, and what I want to communicate. Because it is very important not only just to think about what you are going to talk about, it is what is your goal of the presentation, what is the result, the outcome that you want to get from this presentation. If it is just talking about your life and just tell people and so people know about your life, or you have any interest in, like, you talk about your life with the goal that they take your life as an example to learn a lesson. So what you want to communicate is that lesson. So it's good to have that in mind first. It's much better if you talk about something that you're passionate about. The energy that you are going to put on that when you are talking, it will be much higher energy. That if you talk about something that you really don't like, maybe in your work, they ask you to do a presentation about something technical and you are not very excited about that. So the energy when you talk about that is going to be different. Also, it's good to show that you are earning the right to talk about it. That means that you have maybe some credentials or experience. We don't have time now because it's a very short presentation, but usually you can start first saying, I'm going to talk about this. It's also good to do, you look all the audience side by side, try to make contact with as most people as possible. If there is like a very big audience, you don't need to move all around your head, just some parts, because at certain distance, they will not know you are looking exactly at them. They will think you are looking exactly at them, even though you are looking maybe at the person behind or something, right? So once you do this and you talk about where you say what you are going to talk about, it's good to present yourself. You say, okay, I'm Esteban Tejedor, and I have done a number of trainings about public speaking, and I have done in Liverpool some courses about different topics like public speaking itself, emotional intelligence, about chakras, and now I'm doing online all these presentations. So, well, I have some experience that I think I can give you value talking about this topic. Also, you can talk about the benefits. It's very important to talk about the benefits of this presentation. If I just tell you we are going to talk about public speaking, okay, most of you will think, yeah, this is useful for my life because, well, when I'm going to talk to people or just in general, it's a good skill to have. But just in case, it's good to specify the benefits of the presentation, because the people are asking, why do I need to listen to this? So you respond to that question. And then the people will pay more attention to you because they know why they need to pay attention. And also stick to the time given, but have resources available to expand the information if required. Well, so usually you have certain limit of time, so it's good to respect this limit of time. And it's good to have some, in case you finish too early, to have some other things to talk about, or just leave for time for questions and answers. But more or less, you have like a backup of a topic in case, depending on the time you need. So this is about what you want to communicate. But even more important, or also very important, is who you are talking to. Because it's not the same if you are talking, for example, to children, that if you are talking to a group of businessmen, right? So what are the roles? If you are going to a company, are they the directors of the company? Do they have the ownership of the decisions? Or they are just some employees that they just need some training? So depending on that, you're going to talk in some different ways and prepare the presentation in a different way. how the topic will be affecting them, what it is for me, more or less the question I did before. Why should I listen to this? What it is for me? And then which needs or problems, subjects do I address? Also, depending of, I think there is a D, it should be a D more here. Anyway, which needs or problems, subjects do I address? Depending on the person you are talking to, they might be interested in some parts of the same topic. They might be interested in a part than more than in another part. For example, some of you might be interested more in like just develop your skills talking, even though you don't want to, I mean, or at the moment you don't plan to speak in public, or some of you are ready. Maybe they have a presentation in 2 weeks time and they really need to learn some tips. So it's also good to know your audience. If you can know in advance, so you prepare the presentation accordingly, is much better. If not, you can ask them, like raise the hand, as I did at the beginning, raise the hand if have you done a presentation before, etc. So you know if you need to talk more about this or that. The language and culture, and others like age, gender, interests. Now it is very important, I have mentioned briefly before, the goal of the presentation. For which purpose? It can be just to inform the audience about something. It can be to train, for example, training about public speaking, teach them, coach them. It could be motivate them to take action. If you want to do a sales presentation, you do a presentation because your goal is those people to buy what you are offering. So the presentation will be different, the components of the presentation. You just want to entertain, make them have a good time. Good. Or, well, this is two are also similar. Sell ideas, product, services, persuade with your ideas. So it's very important to have the goal in mind before starting preparing the presentation. Who you are talking to and the goal, and of course the topic, right? And about you, the speaker, how I'm going to do it. We have seen before about the body language. It is not the same if you are going to talk about something that is for entertaining, so you are going to do more gestures like funny movements, etc., or is something like in a company that you behave more formally, right? Credibility and self-confidence, as we have mentioned before. The resources is also important. What resources are you going to use? Are you just going to speak and that's it? Or you are going to have a presentation like this, PowerPoint, etc. The language, in this case, is also very important to know your audience, because you might use some jargon, some specific technical words that if they don't know those words, they are going to get lost and lose interest. And the clothes that you are going to wear is very important, of course. And then the circumstances where you're going to do it, if it is going to be online like this, or it's going to be in a small room, or in a big room with many people. So this is also important when you prepare the presentation, because if it is just online here with you, that is, we have more close contact, or in a small room, you can do more questions, ask them directly. So tell me this. You can encourage participation. But if it is a big group, still you can encourage participation, but it's going to be different. You select people, a person, specific person, but having in mind that all the people are engaged into the conversation with that person. And the timing, etc. So this is the overview of the components of a presentation. Do you have any questions so far?
Hello, Esteban. I have a question.
Yes, Sue, tell me.
I didn't understand what you meant about parasites. I couldn't quite get what you were saying about, you said something about parasites earlier on.
That you know, when you're talking and I think that's what he means.
Exactly, Stephen.
Right.
Very well. Yes. Is those when you?
I do it all the time.
So,
Well,
no,
most
I'm
of
just
us.
wondering because some people get confused when they're talking and sort of get a bit lost.
Yeah, most of us have this little issue, and it's also a matter of practice. So you can, when you start doing presentations, you can record yourself, and you can watch yourself that you are doing too much. So next time you correct it, how can you correct that? Just being in silence instead of just keep quiet. That little part, because we might think wrongly that if there are a few seconds that we are not speaking, people are getting, like what is going on. But no, even this is good, because leaving some pauses is good so the people can think about what you just said a moment ago. So it's good to have some pauses. So no worries if there is some moments that you need to think about something, and don't try to fill it with or this the is also very usual. So it's not a problem if you say a couple of times, but if you say too much, it's not going to look very professional. Okay, so is that clear?
I think so. Thank you. Thank you.
So things that we must observe when we do a presentation. Before you start talking, look at the whole audience. So this is like the lighthouse, and you look one side and the other side. So this is good to do it just before start talking, and also during the presentation. Sometimes it's good to look at different people, not always the same. Sometimes there is a person that for some reason we feel confident when we look at that person, and we spend the whole presentation looking at just one person. So it's good to look at the other people, changing your look, but especially at the beginning, you can do this, the lighthouse look. Also, it's good, very good to smile. Say how long you will be talking for. For example, we are going to say, all right, we are going to talk today for 1 hour, right? As we did at the beginning today. If people know in advance that it will take an hour, that their mind will be adjusted for that. And have a good posture, body gestures, as we said before. The body language is critical. Now, in the introduction, it usually is good to start with either like a surprise, something funny. It's a good technique to start with a joke or with something funny, or it's also very useful to start with questions. For example, when I said before, who of you have practiced public speaking before? And you can do even like not only one, even two, or even three questions. So that starts engaging people. Doing questions, even they are rhetoric questions, it's good to do them in a presentation, because the questions make the person think about the answer. So even if they don't participate, or even if they don't say out loud their answer, but they are thinking about the answer. So that makes them engaged in the presentation, more engaged, because it's difficult to keep their attention for a long time, all right? So doing questions is a good technique. Another good technique is to change the state. Online is a bit more difficult. But for example, if you are doing a presentation in person, suddenly you say, well, it's good to have a good mindset, positive mindset, like, yes, I can do it. I can be a good speaker. Yes. So now high five with your partner and say, I am a good speaker. Just, and they moving their body and doing things like this, change the state and makes them more active. And that helps to keep them, keep their attention. Okay, let's continue with the introduction. Introduce yourself with your name, say what you are going to talk about, awaken the audience attention, like with questions, or with the humor, but also, as I said before, talking about the benefits, because that will respond the question of what is here for me, why I should pay attention, right? And also not only smile yourself, but also awaken the audience smile. In the body means in the body of the presentation. Usually we have an introduction that I just mentioned before. You introduce yourself, you pose the topic, talk about the benefits, you talk about yourself, why you have authority to talk about that. Okay, that is the introduction. Then the body, the content itself, and then the close of the presentation, the closure. So this is in the body, in the content. Make sure that your message is clear. Well, that the message is short, depending on the presentation, but that is something simple that people can understand. And simple messages is better. For example, if you have a PowerPoint presentation, it's better to have something like this with short phrases, and even with mind maps like this, because people also are attracted by visuals. That if you just put a lot of sentences in the presentation and you just read the presentation, that is quite bad, right? So the message is short and it's clear, it's direct. You can make a pause, as I said, sometimes to put emphasis on the thing that you just said. It's good to make pauses. And you think, oh, it's good to make pauses, right? Use audiovisual media or not, depending. Ensure your nonverbal communication is correct, as we said before, body language and the paralanguage. All right. And use taglines. Well, sometimes some speakers have their own sentences that helps them to keep people engaged, and it's like their own signature. Like some people might say, do you agree with me? And just making the question, I insist, is good because the people think about, yes, I agree with that. And some people might respond. So you have an interaction with the audience. You talk about something, do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Maybe not repeating too much, but all the different sentences that you can use. Now, in the conclusion, it's good to make a short summary of the talk. Thank people for attending the presentation and offer the opportunity to ask questions, as we are going to do today. We are doing already. Like, for example, do you have any questions so far about this one? Everything is clear? If so, let's move on. As we said before, the environment is very important. It is going to be, for example, a casual conference with a few people, or, well, in this online presentation, we are not too many people, so it's quite casual, right? We have time to chat, interact with most of us. When there is a bigger audience, it's difficult to interact with all, right? But when there is a few people, sometimes it's difficult time control, because this type of presentation is more open to chat. So sometimes some people chat and extend the time. So you have to keep that in mind if you have a limit of time. The feedback, also the feedback that you get from the people. If you are in a bigger, like in auditorium, it's more difficult to get feedback unless you ask specific questions to some people, or also looking at their faces. If they are having a sleepy face, is interesting feedback for you. But when you are in a small group, it's easier because you can ask them directly, and you are very close. Now, the formal conference, like an auditorium, there is, as I said, no little or there is no participation or little participation, and usually there is a time limit, and usually you require a script or not. If you feel confident and you know a lot about what you know, you don't need to have a script, depending on you. And then team meeting or discussion group. You have a high interaction, total feedback, group feeling, recurrent agenda, project oriented. So this is more like in a petit comité, right? In a meeting, in a company, or in a small group of friends. Okay, I think that's clear, but if you have any questions, let me know. Now, things that you have to take into account. The lighting. It's good to have light usually because especially the presentations in person, because otherwise people might be a bit sleepy, depending. So well, this is for sure something to think about and prepare. And also the distractions. So make sure there are no distractions. Right now it would be more about the mobile phones, etc. But if there is a presentation in person, that the doors and the windows are closed, so there is no noise outside. Internal noise if there are small groups talking or the mobile phones, etc. So it's good to have that also in mind and ask people to turn off the phones, etc. And visual, it can be inside with posters. I mean, if the posters or pictures that you have around is related with the topic, it can be good. If not, or even if it is related with the topic, it can distract people. So think about that. The temperature. So usually people, when it is a warm temperature, they tend to have less attention because the temperature make them more sleepy. So if you go to a very professional presentation, for sure, they will have the temperature, they will have air conditioning, and the temperature will be a bit cool or more than a bit. Other characteristics like if it is clean, etc. The furniture, that depends on where you are. Usually it's good to have comfortable chairs, but maybe not too much because they might feel too much comfortable and fall asleep. So it's good to have something in the middle, right? And the film grading surfaces, the arrangement of chairs to encourage discussion. So it is good if you have like a small presentation, not too many people, to put the chairs in a circle. So that encourages participation and the people feel more connected to the speaker and to the other people because all are looking at all. But if it is a very big auditorium, well, it's not that easy to do it, but also it is good to look more professional, that there are all the spaces. Well, now with the pandemic is more difficult, but the more full is the spaces that you have, it looks better. So if it is a big auditorium and you know that there are going to be a lot of free places, what you can do is just, let's say, close part of those. So you obligate people to sit down like more like closer. So if somebody comes and see the people closer, that looks better, like more professional. Equipment. So you have power, focus, spares, screen. Well, the projector, another type of equipment. If you have a board, etc., is something to think about as well. A board can be very useful to, for example, you ask a question to a person and then you put the answers in the board and you make it more engagement. But presentation is usually okay. But yeah, the board can be very useful as well. Now, also, it's good to involve both brains, the left brain and right brain. Remember, left brain is more analytical, more mathematical, etc., and the right brain is more creative, more about emotions. Well, that is what it is understood. So I heard somebody who said actually it's not like this. It's all together in the, like, there is no, that is the right brain is more emotional and left brain is more technical. So there are different versions about this. Anyway, just to make it for clarity, we'll talk about this. Left brain is more analytical. So we must stimulate this analytical brain. How? Well, you can play different roles. In the same presentation, it's good to play different archetypes. For example, the warrior and the sage. The warrior is when you are going to say something that is like mandatory, like you say, and remember, you are going to be self-confident and you are going to say, yes, I can do it. Okay, this is the warrior, when you order things, and also the body language is very important with any archetype, with any role. So the warrior is like, especially if you are in a stage, no, it's like the posture is like firm posture, like a warrior. And you say, yes, you can. Repeat with me. Yes, I can. Say with your partner, yes, I can. High five, you know. Anyway, these kind of things you can do it. That encourages participation and makes the people more excited. Now, the sage is when you're going to say something interesting, wise topic, a wise tip. And for example, the body language here, it could be, and remember, it's good to do the body language when you say that something interesting is going to happen. Remember this. Keep in your mind. The sage is for the left brain as well as the warrior. Okay, good. Now, how can we stimulate the right brain? We have two other archetypes here. Well, the jester, that is the funny one. Sometimes it's good to make yourself a little embarrassed in the presentation and make a joke, or just do a movement with your body, like a funny movement, things like that. That makes the presentation less formal and people can relate to you more. So you are making that the emotions run in their body as well. And the lover. So the lover is when you talk about something that is like, well, guys, thank you for being here. You're, well, actually, from my bottom of my heart, I appreciate that you are here and that you are listening to my presentation. And together, we are going to do of this presentation a big event, and we are going to love each other. Now, give kisses to everybody. Well, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but is when you bring this feeling of something, could be romantic or it could be something emotional, like a person that is overcoming difficulties, and then you talk about how overcame the difficulties, and you know, something emotional that makes the person love the character you're talking about. And this can be done, for example, the body language could be like, and now we are going to love each other, everybody. Okay, so with the hands like this, for example. So remember, it's good to mix all these four archetypes in your presentation to make the presentation more varied and also to stimulate all sides of your brain. Now, the 6 qualities of a spectacular speaker or presenter. So, to inspire, because when you do a public presentation, you can just give knowledge, and that is fine. But if you want to be a VIP presenter, you are going not only to give information, you are going to transform them. The people coming to your event is going to be different when they leave. They're going to have some takeaways and some transformation. Like, hopefully after this presentation, you will feel much more confident with some tips that you learn here to do a future presentation much better and with all your power. So hopefully this is my goal, to inspire you for this, to make you a better skillful person, and to do better presentations, in this case today, or in other cases. Well, we have learned about quantum physics, mindfulness, the law of attraction, emotional intelligence. So to transform you into a better person, that is my goal with this personal development social circle. To captive, so seduce the audience. It could be with a smile. It could be, as I said before, encouraging, stimulating the loving part of that person, the emotional part. And it could be also like with humor. So it's to grab the attention of the people emotionally. And not only to grab attention, to amaze them. It could be with the content of the presentation, to make them believe that something that was not possible, thanks to what they have learned, they have changed their minds. Oh, this is possible. Or to see something that you do on stage and that they admire, right? We're talking about the qualities of a great presenter. So you can be an average presenter, that's okay. But if you want to be outstanding, it's good to follow these tips. And of course, to entertain. It could be with humor, it could be engaging people, make them participate, bringing them to the stage, make them dance on the stage, make them play with each other. As I said, it's good to do some change of state. So instead of just talking, especially when you are in person, you can tell them, okay, now I give you 3 minutes to talk with your partner how you are going to apply this to your life, for example. And then they talk to each other, and then after, okay, anyone wants to give tell me what they say their partner said, and then raise the hand. Okay, so entertain, to make it more dynamic. And of course, to educate, provide something of value. Well, it could be, if it is something about entertaining, it doesn't need to educate. It's just entertaining. It can be funny, it can be you have a good time, enjoy, but at the same time you can educate. That is the best. So those are the 6 qualities of a spectacular presenter. And well, more or less with this, we have finished the presentation, but remember that you can ask any questions now. So it's your time now to speak. Let me know what you think. It's time for you to speak in public. For example, I'm going to grab one of you and she's going to practice public speaking. For example, Maritere. Hola, Maritere. Hello, Maritere.
Okay. Hola, hello.
Can you tell us, because this week I knew that Maritere has started a new group about Spanish, teaching Spanish, with the specific niche that is in a Christian way, talking about parts of the Bible, etc. So, can you tell us more about this, Maritere? Can you do a little public presentation about your new group?
Okay, thank you, Esther, for giving me this opportunity to speak up.
You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maritere Varas. I live in Mexico City. I'm a Christian, so I am a Spanish speaker, a native. So I decided I can no longer wait until I be perfect to speak in English, because I am in the level intermediate. But I've been attending a lot of meetings, but I want to try it out. I want to do something and to share this love with everybody. in a beautiful way that is by the love of God. So I have a friends in Canada and US, and they told me, why you don't give us like a Spanish class? And I say, I am not perfect in speaking in English, but they told me, try it out. We are open, and we are going to accept that you do some mistakes. And I say, well, okay, I am a little afraid to do that at the beginning, but I decided I can do it, because if you have something to share, you cannot wait, because life is not promised for tomorrow or for the next second. So I decided I want to do it, and I did it. I've been doing this for a month or so, and I feel fantastic. At the very beginning, my first presentation was good, but I noticed that I've been improving from time to time. It's once in a week. So I'm very happy to do this. I'm sharing the love. I'm sharing also some new vocabulary, and I teach them how to repeat it again, like Esteban told me. Practice is everything, because you can improve a lot. So I encourage you to do the same. If you want to do something like playing the guitar, if you know how to sing, or public speaking like Esteban, or sing a song, or sharing everything, even with your pet, and you have to do something good, just do it. Just don't wait until you'll be perfect, because maybe you have to wait, like me, a long time, but do it. Don't wait it. Just do it in love, and everything will be okay. And everybody wants to learn something that you have. So do it, my friend. It's worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maritere. You see, this is an example of spreading love. Okay, I'm going to put the link of her group here in case you are interested. Okay, anybody else telling me, wanting to do a presentation or having any questions? Yes?
Like how you involve the creativity. Did you design the slides yourself?
Well, the slides, good question. Thank you, Chris. This, it was when I was in Liverpool, and I had an intern in my company that he drew it very well. So I took advantage, and we were doing all these mind maps. I designed the mind maps, but he was painting them. So actually they are not my drawings. There's other persons. But yeah, the people
But
usually
it's
like
very creative. I liked how he used for each slide, he used a different color: red, blue, green, yellow, purple.
Thank you, Chris.
Nice,
Yes,
very creative. And your presentation was also very good. I liked how you explained each slide in detail.
thank
Or
you very
each
much.
section, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, everything. Nice.
Okay, good to know. It is good to have to, as I said before, involve. Some people are more visual, right? So it's good to put some, like mind maps in this case. Some people are more auditory, so they just the words, but actually it is the few people, the less people is the people who are more auditory. So there are more visuals, and also there is a kinesthetic, that are the people who learn more by doing or by feeling. So in an online presentation, it's more difficult to do kinesthetic things, but during a presentation in person, you can, as I said before, do games, invite people to do something on the stage or participate among the guests, etc. So it's good to involve the three parts: auditory, speaking, visually, and kinesthetically.
I have a question.
Yes, Hannah?
Well, so for me, I find it easier to talk to people face to face, but actually harder, like how we're doing now through online. Is this quite common? Is there a reason? Is that I don't know.
Well, I think the pandemic has accelerated this online fever, online fever. So obligated us to do it, most of things online.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, there were things already doing more and more things online, but with the pandemic, it has just busted this tendency.
Yeah.
And well, I think it's here to stay, this online thing, right? But when we will be able to go out again, hopefully soon, of course, I think the future, the online, is very important because you can do it from anywhere. You can do it at your own pace. Usually when you do a course online, you can do it whenever you want, when you have time. However, in person, of course, is much more powerful, can be much more powerful because you interact with the people. So
yeah,
online, it is still can be a lot of value, but it cannot make it's not a substitute of things in person.
thank you.
You're welcome. What else?
I was interested when you talk about like the connect with people, because a few months ago I watched a video of Tony Robbins. Do you know him? That is very interesting because he helped to the others to personal develop. Is right,
Yes.
that sentence? So he spoke how you can create a good atmosphere between people in a synergy or something like that. And so I was very interested in this topic. And when you talk about that, it was very interesting because it's normally when you make an exposition in the classical way, you don't have the chance to express yourself in some way. Just when I remember when I was at university, for the courses, it's normally that you can use these technicals sometimes, like a move and ask to your classmates sometimes and walking around and so on. Then you can have all the people connect to your ideas, but in the classical way, it's quite difficult all the time and still very boring all the time. It's always like that. Even when you are very passionate about that, you have to be very structured to the format. So it was just like a comment, something like that, but it's nice that you talk about that.
Thank you, Claudio. Yes, sometimes you have to be strict in a format that depending on where you are doing the presentation. If it is in a business environment, maybe they give you certain guidelines, so you have to stick to them. Or sometimes you can be more free, depending. And about Tony Robbins, yes, in the world of personal development, he is the kind of the god, like he's the number one. He fills stadiums full of people, with people pay 1,000, 2,000 the ticket for their events. And well, many people have been kind of transformed in their events, really. So he's right now in the personal development, he's the number one. He's like all the coaches and all the people who are into this industry, they look at him and what he's doing, and look at his example. So yes, and he organizes events like it is maybe 2 days or 3 days full of people with low temperature, so people don't sleep, and they make them move, and they make them like everything. And yeah, he mixes all these kind of things. So yeah, he's a good reference. Thank you, Claudia. So that's all for now. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.